Dr. Vextall walked into his laboratory that morning, expecting another boring day studying alien creatures. The tall, blue-skinned scientist had examined hundreds of species over his long career, and they all followed the same predictable patterns. Weak bodies, slow reflexes, simple minds that could barely solve basic problems. He yawned as he picked up the data pad containing information about their newest specimen. This creature came from a small planet called Earth, in a quiet corner of the galaxy. The locals called themselves humans, and this particular specimen was named Kim Tae. The report said he was 28 years old and worked as something called a space explorer. His ship had been captured near the gas giant Jupiter while he was collecting mineral samples. Dr. Vextall looked through the observation window at the human sitting calmly in the containment cell. Kim Tae appeared remarkably unremarkable. He had brown hair, dark eyes, and pale skin that looked fragile compared to most species. The human was reading a book and occasionally sipping from a cup of water. He seemed completely relaxed despite being captured by aliens. The first assistant, Dr. Yethal, joined Dr. Vextall at the window. She was a small green creature, with 4 arms and large compound eyes that could see in multiple light spectrums. She had prepared all the standard tests they used for new species classification: basic physical measurements, reaction, time testing, pain tolerance, and environmental adaptation. They entered the containment cell together. Kim Tae looked up from his book and smiled. He stood up politely and bowed slightly, which seemed to be some kind of greeting gesture from his culture. Dr. Vextall was surprised by how calm the human appeared. Most captured specimens were either terrified or aggressive. This one seemed genuinely curious about meeting them. Dr. Yethal began with basic measurements. Kim Tae cooperated fully, allowing them to measure his height, weight, and various body proportions. The numbers seemed normal for a bipedal species, though he was taller than average. The surprise came when they measured his internal body temperature. The thermometer read 37 degrees Celsius, which was impossibly hot. Dr. Yethal checked the instrument 3 times, thinking it was broken. At that temperature, most known species would be cooking from the inside. Yet Kim Tae showed no signs of distress. He was breathing normally. His heart rate was steady, and he even seemed comfortable. Dr. Vextall decided to test the human's blood circulation. They attached monitoring devices to track oxygen flow through his system. The readings made no sense, according to everything they knew about biology. Kim Tae's blood carried oxygen at levels that should have been toxic. His heart pumped with a rhythm that seemed too fast yet too controlled. The human noticed their confusion and asked if something was wrong. Dr. Vextall explained that his body temperature and blood chemistry seemed dangerous. Kim Tae laughed and said that was perfectly normal for humans. He mentioned that his sister Park Min actually ran warmer than he did, and she was considered completely healthy. Next, they tested basic reflexes. Dr. Yethal dropped a small metal sphere, expecting Kim Tae to react in the standard time frame of 2 to 3 seconds. Most species needed that long for their brains to process what they saw and command their bodies to move. The sphere fell toward the floor. Kim Tae caught it before it dropped 6 inches. His hand moved so fast that Dr. Yethal's compound eyes barely tracked the movement. The motion seemed to happen instantly, as if the human had known the sphere would fall before it was even released. They repeated the test 5 more times with the same impossible results. Dr. Vextall checked their timing equipment, wondering if it was malfunctioning. The instruments showed Kim Tae's reaction time at 0.1 seconds, which was faster than their computers could process information. The human apologized and asked if he was supposed to let the objects fall. He seemed genuinely concerned that he might be doing something wrong. The pain tolerance test came next. This was standard procedure for all new species they applied, a mild electrical current that typically caused unconsciousness in most creatures. Dr. Yethal set the device to its lowest setting and warned Kim Tae that he might feel some discomfort. The electrical current flowed through Kim Tae's body. He blinked once, then looked at them expectantly. After a few seconds, he asked if they had started the test yet. Dr. Yethal stared at her instruments in disbelief. The current was definitely flowing, and the human showed no reaction at all. She increased the power to the second level, which usually caused severe pain. Kim Tae felt his muscles tense slightly and mentioned that it tickled a little. He asked if this was some kind of massage therapy from their culture. Dr. Vextal instructed her to increase the power to maximum at maximum power. The electrical current was strong enough to knock out a Zephyrian warrior. Kim Tae grimaced slightly and commented that it felt like static electricity from his home planet. He asked if they could turn it up more. Because he was curious about their technology, Dr. Yethal quickly shut off the device. The environmental adaptation tests revealed even more impossible results. They exposed Kim Tae to temperature variations that should have killed him within minutes. He adapted to conditions ranging from near freezing to desert heat. His body seemed to automatically adjust without any conscious effort. When they increased atmospheric pressure to levels that crushed most organisms, Kim Tae mentioned that it reminded him of deep-sea diving back on Earth. He described swimming to depths that would flatten their research submarines. His casual tone suggested this was normal recreational activity for humans. The final test involved exposing him to various atmospheric compositions. Most species could only survive in very specific gas mixtures. Kim Tae breathed normally in atmospheres that contained barely any oxygen. He mentioned that the air quality reminded him of mountain climbing with his friend Lee Jun-der. Vextal and Dr. Yethal retreated to review their data. Everything they had measured violated the known laws of biology and physics. This human seemed to exist in conditions that should have been fatal. His body operated on principles they had never encountered in decades of research. The implications were terrifying. If this Kim Tae represented average capabilities for his species, then humans were unlike anything in the Galactic database. They were not just another intelligent species to be cataloged and studied. They might be something entirely unprecedented in the known universe. Dr. Vextal realized they needed to expand their research immediately. This was no longer a simple classification project. This human represented either a complete failure of their scientific understanding, or the discovery of something that could change everything they thought they knew about life in the galaxies. Kim Tae continued reading his book, completely unaware of the crisis he had created. Dr. Vextal began planning much more comprehensive tests. They needed to understand not just what humans were, but what they were capable of. The survival of galactic civilization might depend on the answers. With her specialized equipment for testing mental abilities, she was the leading expert in alien psychology and had examined the minds of over 300 different species. Her purple skin glowed softly with excitement because the physical test results from Kim Tae had been so unusual that everyone expected his mental capabilities to be equally surprising. The human sat quietly in his chair, reading what appeared to be technical documentation about their ship systems. Kim Tae had somehow accessed their computer network and was studying their technology. Dr. Yethara found this concerning because their systems were supposed to be completely secure from unauthorized access. She began with simple pattern recognition tests that usually took most species several minutes to complete. The test involved identifying sequences in complex geometric shapes and predicting what came next. Dr. Yethara handed Kim Tae the first puzzle, expecting him to study it carefully. Kim Tae glanced at the puzzle for 3 seconds, then wrote down the answer. He handed it back and asked if she had anything more challenging. Dr. Yethara checked his response against the answer key and found it was completely correct. She gave him 5 more puzzles of increasing difficulty. Each puzzle took Kim Tae less than 10 seconds to solve. Dr. Yethara began to sweat nervously as she realized her most difficult pattern recognition tests were barely slowing him down. She decided to create new puzzles on the spot using combinations that had no predetermined answers. Kim Tae solved these instantly as well and began explaining the mathematical principles behind each pattern. He described concepts that Dr. Yethara had never encountered despite her advanced education. The human spoke casually as if these were basic ideas that everyone should understand. The mathematical testing proved even more disturbing. Dr. Yethara presented equations that usually stumped their graduate students. Kim Tae solved them, while maintaining a conversation about his home planet. He mentioned that these problems reminded him of puzzles his younger sister Park Min used to solve for entertainment when she was 12 years old. Dr. Yethara felt her confidence crumbling as she realized that what challenged their brightest minds was apparently child-level mathematics for humans. She decided to present Kim Tae with unsolved theoretical problems that their greatest mathematicians had been working on for decades. Within 2 hours, Kim Tae had solved 3 of them. He apologized for taking so long and explained that he was not particularly gifted at mathematics by human standards. He mentioned several friends back home who were much better at solving complex equations. Lee Jun could apparently do calculations like these in his head while doing other tasks. The memory capacity tests revealed capabilities that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Dr. Yathara showed Kim Tae a complex star chart containing thousands of individual points of data. She displayed it for exactly 30 seconds, then asked him to reproduce what he had seen. Kim Tae drew the entire chart perfectly from memory, including details that Dr. Yathara had forgotten were in the original. He added several corrections to their chart, pointing out errors in star positions that their instruments had apparently missed when she asked how this was possible. Kim Tae shrugged and mentioned that humans called it photographic memory. He explained that about 10% of humans had perfect visual recall and could remember anything they had seen with complete accuracy. Kim Tae considered himself only average at memory tasks because he could not remember conversations word for word. Like some of his friends, Dr. Yathara decided to test emotional intelligence by presenting complex social scenarios that required understanding multiple viewpoints and predicting behavioral outcomes. Most species struggled with these tests because they required advanced empathy and social reasoning. Kim Tae not only solved each scenario perfectly, but began predicting what Dr. Yathara would ask next. He correctly guessed her next 5 test questions and explained that her body language made her intentions obvious. The human described reading micro-expressions and subtle behavioral cues that Dr. Yathara was not even aware she was displaying. The creativity testing broke every record in their database. Dr. Yathara presented Kim Tae with a theoretical physics problem about faster-than-light travel that had no known solution. Their most brilliant scientists had worked on this problem for decades without making any progress. Kim Tae spent 4 hours thinking about the problem while eating lunch and having casual conversations with the research staff. He asked questions about their understanding of space-time, relativity, and quantum mechanics. Dr. Yathara provided him with their most advanced textbooks, which he read at incredible speed. By evening, Kim Tae presented 3 different theoretical approaches to solving faster-than-light travel. 2 of his solutions were completely original concepts that none of their scientists had ever considered. The third approach built upon existing theories but combined them in ways that had never been attempted. Dr. Yathara called an emergency meeting with the senior research staff to discuss Kim Tae's mental capabilities. The human had demonstrated cognitive abilities that exceeded every known species by massive margins. His pattern recognition, mathematical reasoning, memory capacity, and creative problem-solving were all impossibly advanced. The most disturbing aspect was Kim Tae's casual attitude about his abilities. He consistently claimed to be average by human standards and mentioned friends and family members who were supposedly much more capable. His sister Park Min was apparently a diplomatic expert who spoke dozens of languages fluently. His friend Lee Jun could solve complex engineering problems while doing physical labor. Dr. Yathara realized they were not just studying an individual with exceptional abilities. They were examining what appeared to be normal capabilities for the human species. If Kim Tae represented average intelligence for his people, then humans possessed cognitive abilities that surpassed their most advanced artificial intelligence systems. The implications were staggering. A species with such mental capabilities, combined with the physical abilities they had already documented, would be capable of technological advancement at unimaginable speeds. Humans could potentially develop technologies that would make them the dominant force in the galaxy within a few generations. Dr. Yathara spent the night reviewing her data and running calculations about human potential. If their entire species possessed similar capabilities to Kim Tae, then they represented either the greatest opportunity or the greatest threat that galactic civilization had ever encountered. The next morning, she presented her findings to Dr. Vextel and recommended that they expand their research to include detailed studies of human technology culture and social structures. Understanding what humans were capable of was no longer enough. They needed to understand what humans intended to do with their abilities. Kim Tai continued to cooperate with all their tests while displaying genuine curiosity about alien science and culture. He asked thoughtful questions about their society and shared information about human civilization. The casual way he described human achievements suggested capabilities that challenged everything they thought they knew about intelligent life. Commander Zergoth strode into the research facility with confidence radiating from his massive frame. The military specialist stood 8 feet tall with thick armored skin and muscles that could crush steel. His species had evolved as apex predators, and he had never encountered a creature he could not physically dominate in combat. The reports about this human named Kim Tai seemed exaggerated to Commander Zergoth. Small bipedal creatures were typically weak and slow, regardless of what laboratory. Tests might suggest real combat ability could only be measured through actual physical confrontation. He had requested permission to conduct proper warrior evaluation of the specimen. Dr. Vextal explained the safety protocols and warned Commander Zergoth to be careful with the human. Kim Tai was their only specimen, and they needed him alive for continued research. Commander Zergoth laughed at the suggestion that he might accidentally harm such a small creature. Kim Tai entered the combat testing chamber and bowed politely to Commander Zergoth. The human appeared completely relaxed and asked what kind of sparring they would be doing. He mentioned that he enjoyed learning new fighting techniques from different cultures. Commander Zergoth was amused by the human's casual attitude. The commander explained that they would engage in standard hand-to-hand combat using techniques approved by the Galactic Federation Military Academy. These methods had been developed over thousands of years and represented the most effective fighting systems known to advanced civilizations. Kim Tai nodded and apologized in advance for what might happen. Commander Zergoth found this statement hilarious. The human was less than half his size and appeared to have no natural weapons or armor. How could such a fragile-looking creature possibly pose any threat to a trained warrior? They began with basic grappling techniques. Commander Zergoth reached out to grab Kim Tai's arm, intending to demonstrate simple joint manipulation. The moment his hand made contact, the human moved with impossible speed. Commander Zergoth found himself flying through the air before his brain could process what had happened. He landed on his back with Kim Tai gently pinning him to the ground. The entire encounter had lasted less than 3 seconds. Commander Zergoth had not even seen the movements that led to his defeat. Kim Tai immediately helped him up and asked if he was injured in any way. Commander Zergoth insisted on trying again, convinced that he had been caught off guard by some kind of trick. This time he would use his full strength and combat experience. The human agreed, but suggested they move to a larger space with safety padding. The second attempt lasted even less time. Kim Tai seemed to flow around Commander Zergoth attacks like water moving past rocks. Every strike the commander threw was redirected or avoided entirely. The human used Commander Zergoth's own momentum against him, sending the massive warrior tumbling across the padded floor. Kim Tai helped him up again and complimented Commander Zergoth's technique. The human mentioned that his fighting style reminded him of his friend Li Jun, who practiced something called judo back on Earth. Kim Tai explained that he was actually not very good at martial arts compared to serious practitioners. Commander Zergoth demanded a third match using weapons this time. He selected his preferred combat blade and offered Kim Tai a similar weapon. The human politely declined, saying he preferred to fight unarmed. Commander Zergoth saw this as the ultimate insult and attacked with everything he had. The fight ended with Commander Zergoth's weapon on the floor and the massive warrior once again pinned helplessly. Kim Tai had disarmed him, using techniques that seemed to defy physics. The human had moved faster than the commander's eyes could track, while applying leverage that should not have been possible given their size difference. Dr. Vextal decided to test Kim Tai's raw physical strength using their standard equipment. The machine was designed to measure force output, up to levels that could crush starship hull plating. Kim Tai gripped the handles and pulled, gently. The machine broke immediately. Kim Tai apologized and explained that he had barely used any force. He mentioned that the equipment reminded him of exercise machines at his local gym back home. Except those were built much more solidly. They brought in their most advanced strength testing equipment, rated for the strongest known species in the galaxy. Kim Tae shrugged and gripped the new handles. He increased pressure gradually, while the scientists watched the readings climb higher and higher. The second machine also broke before reaching Kim Tae's maximum output. The human expressed genuine concern about damaging their equipment and offered to pay for repairs. He mentioned that his friend Lee Jun was much stronger and would probably have broken both machines just by gripping them. Dr. Yithal conducted detailed medical scans of Kim Tae's muscular and skeletal systems. The results violated everything they understood about biology. His muscle fibers were impossibly dense, containing more power-generating cells than should have been able to fit in such a compact frame. His bone structure appeared normal on the surface, but detailed analysis revealed density levels that approached metallic materials. According to their calculations, Kim Tae's skeleton should have been too heavy for him to move, yet he demonstrated perfect balance and coordination. The most disturbing discovery came when they analyzed the relationship between his muscular and skeletal systems. By all known laws of physics, Kim Tae's muscles could generate enough force to shatter his own bones. Yet he showed no signs of structural weakness or joint damage. Kim Tae noticed their confusion and tried to explain human physiology. He described how human bones and muscles develop together through something called evolution. The constant stress from their muscular systems had apparently made human skeletons incredibly strong. He mentioned that humans regularly engaged in activities that put enormous stress on their bodies. Running, jumping, lifting weights, and playing contact sports were normal recreational activities. Kim Tae described watching his sister Park Min compete in something called gymnastics, where humans performed aerial maneuvers that would be impossible for most species. The healing factor test happened by accident when Kim Tae cut himself on some broken equipment. The researchers watched in amazement as the wound stopped bleeding within minutes and began closing. Visibly, they documented the healing process with high-speed cameras. Within 6 hours, the cut had completely disappeared, leaving no scar tissue or evidence that any injury had occurred. Kim Tae explained that this was normal healing speed for humans, maybe even slightly slow since he had been eating alien food instead of proper human nutrition. Dr. Vextal reviewed all the data and reached a terrifying conclusion. Humans were not just physically superior to known species, they existed on a completely different level of biological possibility. Their strength, speed, reflexes, and healing abilities challenged fundamental assumptions about what living creatures could achieve. Commander Zergoth requested immediate military alert status. He argued that a species with such physical capabilities represented an existential threat to galactic security. Even one human could potentially cause massive destruction if they decided to become hostile. The research team faced an impossible situation. They were studying a creature whose very existence seemed to violate natural law. Kim Tae demonstrated abilities that their most advanced technology could not match, yet he remained friendly and cooperative throughout all testing. Kim Tae seemed unaware of how unusual his abilities were compared to other species. He consistently described himself as average by human standards and mentioned friends and family members who were supposedly much more capable. The implications of an entire species with such abilities were almost unthinkable. Chief Scientist Dr. Quarian called an emergency meeting of the entire Research Council after reviewing all test results from their human specimen. The data they had collected over several weeks challenged everything the Galactic Federation understood about biology, evolution, and civilization development. Dr. Quarian was the oldest and most experienced researcher in their organization, having studied alien species for over 2 centuries. His silver skin bore the ritual scars of advanced scientific achievement, and his 4 eyes could process information at speeds that amazed younger researchers. The meeting room filled with tension as department heads gathered around the holographic display showing Kim Tae's test results. Every number and measurement seemed to violate fundamental laws that governed how living creatures could function. Dr. Quarian activated the security shields to prevent any information from leaving the room. Dr. Vextal presented the physical impossibilities. First, Kim Tae's body. Temperature, blood chemistry, reaction speeds, and healing factors existed beyond anything their science could explain. His strength levels broke their testing equipment, and his environmental adaptation capabilities surpassed their most extreme projections. Dr. Yathura described the mental capabilities that exceeded every known species by massive margins. Kim Tai's pattern recognition, mathematical reasoning, memory capacity, and creative problem-solving represented cognitive abilities that surpassed their most advanced artificial intelligence systems. Commander Zergoth reported on combat effectiveness that challenged basic assumptions about physics. Kim Tai had defeated trained warriors while demonstrating techniques that seemed to bend natural laws. His movements were faster than instruments could measure, and his fighting skills appeared almost supernatural. Dr. Melvin presented the most disturbing findings about human social structures, their cooperative behaviors, voluntary self-sacrifice, and leadership systems based on service rather than dominance created possibilities for collective achievement that no other species had ever demonstrated. Dr. Quarian studied each report carefully while running calculations on his personal computing system. The numbers painted a picture that seemed impossible yet undeniable. Humans represented something that should not exist according to everything they knew about evolution and species development. The chief scientist presented his analysis. To the assembled researchers, Kim Tai appeared to be simultaneously an apex predator and a highly social creature. This combination had never been observed in galactic history because it violated fundamental principles of evolutionary development. Most predator species developed individual strength at the expense of cooperation. They became powerful alone but struggled to work together effectively. Social species typically evolved weaker individuals who succeeded through group coordination. Humans seem to have achieved both extremes simultaneously. Dr. Quarian displayed evolutionary timelines showing how long most species required to develop advanced capabilities. The average time from primitive tools to space travel was approximately 50,000 years, with most species taking much longer. Humans had accomplished this transition in less than 10,000 years. The research team examined data from intercepted Earth transmissions that provided glimpses into human historical development. Humans had progressed from stone tools to nuclear weapons in mere centuries. They had developed agriculture, writing, mathematics, and engineering at unprecedented speeds. Kim Tai casually confirmed these historical accounts when asked about human technological advancement. He described how his species had gone from horse-drawn transportation to interstellar travel within his grandparents' lifetime. This rate of progress seemed physically impossible. The most terrifying aspect was Kim Tai's consistent claims that humans were still developing their capabilities. He described his species as young and inexperienced with much room for growth. Kim Tai mentioned that human children were already surpassing previous generations in various abilities. Dr. Quarian presented his conclusion that violated every principle of galactic civilization. Humans were a warrior species that had chosen cooperation over conquest. Their physical and mental capabilities suggested evolution as perfect, killing machines, yet their social development showed they had decided to build rather than destroy. The implications were staggering. If accurate, humans possessed the individual abilities to dominate other species through force. Yet they had developed social systems based on voluntary cooperation, collaboration, and mutual benefit. This combination had never been documented in galactic history. Kim Tai seemed unaware of how exceptional his species was compared to galactic norms. He consistently described humans as primitive and learning to control their aggressive instincts. The casual way he mentioned human potential suggested capabilities that their current achievements barely represented. The research team reviewed human cultural concepts that Kim Tai had described. Ethics, morality, justice, and compassion appeared to be systems that humans had created to regulate their own dangerous capabilities. They had voluntarily imposed limitations on themselves. Dr. Quarian asked Kim Tai directly about human capacity for violence and destruction. The human acknowledged that his species was capable of tremendous harm, but explained how they had developed institutions and values designed to prevent such outcomes. Kim Tai described human weapons that could destroy entire planets. Yet his species had chosen to focus on exploration and scientific advancement. Instead, he mentioned that humans debated extensively about the ethical use of their technologies and often chose restraint over maximum effectiveness. The conversation revealed that humans were consciously choosing not to fully utilize their capabilities. Kim Tae described his species as working to become better versions of themselves through education, philosophy, and social development. Rather than pursuing maximum power, Dr. Quarian realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. A species with the capability to dominate through force had instead chosen to develop systems that promoted cooperation growth and mutual benefit among all members. The chief scientist faced an impossible decision. According to Galactic Federation protocols, any species that posed an existential threat to galactic stability should be contained or eliminated, yet humans had shown no aggressive intentions toward other civilizations. Kim Tae had been completely cooperative throughout all testing, sharing information freely and expressing genuine interest in peaceful cultural exchange. His behavior suggested that humans were more interested in learning and exploring than conquering or dominating. The research team debated frantically about how to proceed. Commander Zergoth argued that human capabilities made them too dangerous to ignore, regardless of their current intentions. Dr. Melvin suggested that human cooperative tendencies might make them valuable allies. Dr. Quarian understood that they were making decisions that could affect the future of galactic civilization. Humans represented either the greatest threat or the greatest opportunity that the Federation had ever encountered. The meeting concluded with Dr. Quarian authorizing expanded research into human civilization with particular focus on their intentions and future plans. They needed to understand not just what humans were capable of achieving, but what they actually intended to do. Kim Tae remained in his quarters, reading technical manuals and asking thoughtful questions about alien science, completely unaware that his very existence had created a crisis that threatened to reshape everything the galaxy understood about intelligent life. Dr. Vextal stared at the reports scattered across his desk, knowing that the decision he made in the next few hours would change galactic history forever. The data about human capabilities was undeniable, yet terrifying. Kim Tae represented abilities that could reshape civilization or destroy it entirely. The Galactic Federation Council had reviewed their findings and demanded an immediate recommendation. Protocol required that dangerous species be contained or eliminated before they could threaten established galactic order. Yet Dr. Vextal struggled with the implications of such drastic action. Kim Tae had been nothing but cooperative during weeks of testing. He answered questions honestly, shared information about his culture, and expressed genuine curiosity about alien civilizations. The human showed no signs of aggression or hostile intentions toward any species. Commander Zergoth burst into the laboratory demanding immediate military action. He argued that human capabilities made them an existential threat regardless of current behavior. A species that could break their strongest materials, defeat their best warriors, and solve their most complex problems in hours represented danger beyond calculation. The commander paced nervously while describing worst-case scenarios. If humans decided to expand aggressively, their combination of physical abilities, mental superiority, and cooperative social structures could overwhelm galactic defenses within generations. No known technology could stop a determined human invasion. Dr. Melvin disagreed strongly with Commander Zergoth's assessment. She argued that human cooperation and ethical systems made them exactly what galactic civilization needed. Most species in the Federation competed constantly for resources, territory, and dominance. Humans appeared to have evolved beyond such primitive behaviors. The anthropologist described human concepts of justice, fairness, and mutual benefit that could revolutionize galactic society. She suggested that humans might help solve conflicts between species that had been fighting for centuries. Their unique perspective on cooperation could bring lasting peace. Dr. Yathera supported expanded cultural exchange rather than military action. Her psychological analysis suggested that humans were genuinely peaceful, despite their incredible capabilities. Kim Tae's behavior patterns showed no signs of deception or hidden aggressive intentions. The debate continued for hours, while Kim Tae sat in his quarters reading alien literature and making notes about different species' cultures. He had no idea that his fate and potentially the future of both human and galactic civilization hung in the balance. Dr. Vextal realized that traditional protocols were inadequate for this situation. Humans were unprecedented in galactic history and required unprecedented solutions. Standard procedures assumed that dangerous species would show aggressive tendencies. Kim Tae had shown nothing but curiosity and cooperation. The breakthrough came when Kim Tae requested a meeting with the research team. He explained that he had been listening to their debates. Dr. Melvin prepared her anthropological equipment with growing excitement. The cultural specialist had spent decades studying alien civilizations and their social structures. After seeing Kim Tae's impossible physical and mental abilities, she wondered, what kind of society could have produced such remarkable individuals? Her purple tentacles moved efficiently as she arranged recording devices and translation matrices. Dr. Melvin had developed new techniques for understanding alien social concepts, and she expected human culture to provide fascinating insights into how advanced species organize themselves. Kim Tae entered the interview chamber carrying a small device that he explained was a picture viewer from his home planet. He seemed eager to share information about human society and had prepared visual examples of his family and friends. Dr. Melvin was surprised by his enthusiasm for cultural exchange. The first shock came when Kim Tae explained human family structures. He described how his parents had raised him and his sister Park Min, providing food, shelter, education, and emotional support for over 18 years, with no expectation of immediate return on their investment. Dr. Melvin struggled to understand this concept. In Galactic Federation society, offspring were raised by state institutions because biological parents had no logical reason to waste resources on children who might not survive to reproduce. The idea of voluntary parental care seemed to violate basic evolutionary principles. Kim Tae showed pictures of family gatherings where multiple generations of humans shared meals and celebrations. He described how grandparents helped raise children and how adult siblings maintained close relationships throughout their lives. Dr. Melvin found these behaviors completely irrational. When she asked why humans engaged in these wasteful practices, Kim Tae tried to explain something he called love. The translation matrices could not properly convert this concept because no equivalent existed in any known alien language. Kim Tae spent an hour attempting to describe emotional bonds that motivated self-sacrifice. The discussion of human friendships proved even more disturbing. Kim Tae described relationships with individuals like his friend Lee Jun, where they voluntarily shared resources, time, and effort, with no formal contracts or guaranteed benefits. He told stories about friends helping each other through difficult situations. Dr. Melvin listened in horror as Kim Tae described how Lee Jun had once carried him 15 miles through dangerous terrain after Kim Tae was injured during a recreational activity called hiking. The friend had risked his own life and exhausted himself to save someone he was not related to and gained nothing from helping. Kim Tae showed pictures of himself and Lee Jun engaging in various activities together. They had traveled to different locations, shared expensive equipment, and spent time learning skills that benefited both of them. Dr. Melvin could not understand why beings with such advanced capabilities would choose to limit their individual potential through group cooperation. The concept of human marriage baffled Dr. Melvin completely. Kim Tae explained how two unrelated individuals would voluntarily bind themselves together for life-sharing resources and making major decisions jointly. He described his parents' relationship as an example of successful partnership. According to Kim Tae, his parents had been married for 30 years and continued to support each other emotionally and practically. They made sacrifices for each other's happiness and worked together to raise their children. Dr. Melvin asked what prevented them from abandoning this arrangement when it became inconvenient. Kim Tae tried to explain concepts like commitment, loyalty, and trust that motivated humans to maintain relationships even during difficult periods. He described how married couples supported each other through illness, financial problems, and personal challenges. Dr. Melvin found these behaviors incomprehensible. The discussion of human communities revealed even more shocking information. Kim Tae described neighborhoods where strangers helped each other during emergencies, shared tools and resources, and looked after each other's children. He mentioned community organizations that worked together to solve local problems. Dr. Melvin asked about enforcement mechanisms that required this cooperation. Kim Tae explained that most community assistance was voluntary, based on shared understanding that helping others created better living conditions for everyone. The absence of formal coercion made these behaviors even more puzzling. Human concepts of justice and morality proved completely alien to Dr. Melvin's understanding. Kim Tae described legal systems based on concepts like fairness, rehabilitation, and protecting the innocent, rather than simple dominance hierarchies. He explained how humans sometimes punished people who harmed others. The idea that powerful individuals would voluntarily limit their own behavior to protect weaker members of society seemed impossible. Dr. Melvin had never encountered any species that did not organize itself around strength-based dominant structures. Kim Tae described human leadership systems where authority figures served the population rather than ruling them. He explained democratic processes where groups made decisions through discussion and voting rather than combat or genetic superiority. Dr. Melvin asked who forced the leaders to serve others' interests. According to Kim Tae, human leaders were chosen by the people they governed and could be removed if they failed to serve effectively. The concept of voluntary leadership that existed to benefit followers rather than to dominate them violated everything Dr. Melvin understood about social organization. The most disturbing revelation came when Kim Tae described human sacrifice and heroism in Haidihar, told stories of individuals who had died protecting strangers, given up their own resources to help communities, and volunteered for dangerous tasks that benefited their species. Dr. Melvin asked what rewards these heroes received for their sacrifices. Kim Tae explained that many received no material benefits at all. They acted based on principles like duty, honor, and compassion that motivated them to value group welfare over individual survival. Kim Tae showed pictures of human monuments dedicated to individuals who had died protecting others. He described how his society honored people who made sacrifices for the common good and taught children to admire selfless behavior. Dr. Melvin found this cultural emphasis on self-sacrifice deeply unsettling. The interview concluded with Kim Tae's description of human exploration and scientific advancement. He explained how his species shared knowledge freely between individuals and organizations, working together to solve problems and discover new technologies. Dr. Melvin realized that human society itself might be their most dangerous characteristic. A species with incredible individual capabilities that chose voluntary cooperation over competition could potentially achieve things that no other known civilization had ever accomplished. The combination of advanced abilities with cooperative social structures created possibilities that challenged everything the Galactic Federation understood about civilization development. Most species reach technological advancement through competition and conflict. Humans appeared to have chosen collaboration as their primary social strategy. Dr. Melvin submitted her report with deep concern about the implications. Human society seemed designed to maximize collective achievement rather than individual dominance. If their entire species shared Kim Tae's abilities and social values, they represented something unprecedented in galactic history. She recommended immediate expansion of research into human civilization with particular attention to their technological development and expansion patterns. Understanding what humans were capable of individually was no longer sufficient. The Federation needed to understand what they might accomplish working together.